Now we only have 3 more members of Shadow Garden to talk about, and the next person that will join after Gamma is Epsilon, the most prideful person in the organization. And similar to my previous videos, I'll be covering her story throughout the series along with her talents, powers and abilities. As usual, this video will contain spoilers for her character and the story of the Eminence in Shadow, so here's a spoiler warning just in case. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. To start, who was Epsilon before she joined Shadow Garden? Basically, she was from a noble elven family and apparently she used to have quite a perfect life. She was loved by the people around her and was constantly praised for beauty, brains and talent in martial arts, so she was quite prideful and arrogant. However, she was disowned by her friends and family and hunted down when she became afflicted with demon possession. She managed to escape into the mountains, but her possession was rapidly taking over, and yet, she did not have the courage to die because she still wanted to take revenge on the people that had forsaken her. Luckily, she was approached by a young shadow who offered her salvation and the power she had desired for revenge, so she accepted the offer and her possession was healed by its magic. After being given a second chance and regaining some semblance of herself, she decided to forget about vengeance and dedicate her life to Shadow, so she became the 5th member to join Shadow Garden. She was also given the name of Epsilon, and she was one of the few characters that we know of who is actually openly in love with Sid. Now, after joining Shadow Garden, Epsilon constantly tried to prove her worth to her master, but her pride was shattered when she met the other members. That's because the combat skills she thought she had was nothing compared to Alpha and Delta, and even the intelligence that she regarded so highly failed to compete with Gamma. The only person she could compete with was Beta, but even then Beta did more than her because she was Alpha's assistant, whereas for Epsilon, she was only given missions like gathering intel, acting as a messenger, or just serving as her master's personal assistant. Of course, she still enjoyed serving her master, but she wanted to prove herself, so she appealed to Alpha and she was sent on a mission to investigate an abandoned castle. During the mission, she went against Alpha's orders and infiltrated the castle herself and had alerted the people inside, so she was forced to fight her way out. However, there were too many for her to handle, so she collapsed from fatigue, but when she woke up, all the enemies were taken out and it was hinted that Shadow might have been the one that saved her. Regardless, Epsilon reported back to Alpha, and apparently the reason she was never sent on dangerous missions was because of her impatient and prideful nature. Alpha knew Epsilon might go overboard to prove herself and wanted her to appreciate the life given to her by her master, so it was lucky that this particular mission gave Epsilon the experience needed to grow as a person. But anyways, later Zeta and Eta would join Shadow Garden as well, so they became known as the 7 Shadows, and Epsilon was tied with Beta as the 4th to 5th strongest within the organization. Although when it came to magic, she was the most proficient, even surpassing Alpha, and she was second only to Sid. She was able to effectively and efficiently manipulate magic to do things like creating magic sound waves to deflect attacks or sending out invisible magic blades. She even earned the title of Epsilon the Faithful through her impressive magic control. And that wasn't all, because among the 7 Shadows, she had the most talent for healing demon possession after learning the technique from her master. But there's a reason for her talents in magic, and it's actually pretty shallow. The reason behind her proficiency was that she wanted to stand out from the other girls and win over her master through her looks, but because her family lineage was plagued with small assets, she could only rely on a slime bodysuit to overcome her weakness. So she dedicated herself and worked really hard to understand the principles behind the manipulation of the slime found within the clothing. She would always wear the bodysuit under the pretext of practicing a magic control while she constantly added volume to assets, making it look as natural as possible. However, she soon discovered that the slime felt unnatural, so she started to conduct research on Beta, a person blessed with natural assets. She eventually learned how to easily regulate the circulation of magic in her body and stabilize the magic in the slime bodysuit to perfect the feel of her own artificial assets and to finally obtain the perfect figure. Additionally, as a result of all the layers of slime padding that she added onto her body, it gave her greater physical protection and defenses as well. She can even use the slime bodysuit in creative ways, like using it as a rope that she can freely control in any direction. Now, aside from magic, her other skills are pretty average, and for her swordsmanship, her skills are equal to Beta, but because she incorporates magic into her fighting style, it was a lot more creative and unique. Having said that, she joined the other Shadows on their first mission when Sid's sister Claire Cardinal was kidnapped by the Cult of Diablos and they would attack the base of Viscount Oba. They easily took out all the enemies and the Viscount was defeated by their master. With the successful rescue of Claire, the girls decided to leave Sid for 2 years in order to expand Shadow Garden and acquire the resources needed to better fight the Cult. During the 2 years away, Shadow Garden was restructured to be more organized, so everyone was given proper roles to carry out. Epsilon became responsible for espionage and infiltration thanks to her meticulous nature and careful attention to detail. But she will also participate in off-site and frontline missions to provide support in the rescue of the possessed because, like I mentioned just now, she was the most capable at healing the possessed, and Lambda was one of the few notable people that she saved. Eventually, when their numbers grew larger, they had moved to the ancient city of Alexandria, and Epsilon continued to perform as their infiltration expert, carrying out various investigations and scouting missions on the cult. And whenever she's not on missions, Epsilon occasionally takes part in Etta's experiments because she seems to like her a lot and tends to overindulge her. However, Epsilon started to feel anxious about her role in Shadow Garden, and her pride took over again because to her, she was just doing the same missions while the others are getting more active roles. And even though she was responsible for helping Gamma to develop the fashion division of the Mitsugoshi company, it wasn't enough for her, especially when Beta debuted as Natsume Kafka. That's why she wanted to use her talents for music and debut as a pianist in the Oriana Kingdom and help Shadow Garden gain access to the upper classes and aristocracy. She then proposed the plans to Alpha and Gamma, and after getting approval, Epsilon was trained in the human etiquette of high society by Lambda. When she was ready, she performed in a tea party hosted by the Midgard Newspaper Association with songs that she had learned from her master Sid. During the tea party, she successfully debuted as the wandering pianist Chiron, and she was able to earn the attention of many patrons. After her debut, Epsilon focused on building the popularity and influence of a public persona in the Oriana Kingdom while continuing to do a job for Shadow Garden as well. Also, to assist Epsilon in her work, she was apparently given two subordinates, Omega and Kai, who were both ranked and named members, but it was unknown when they joined. With that, 2 years would pass and her public persona Chiron became known throughout the world as a professional pianist and composer. She even had multiple awards to her name. She mostly spent her time in the Oriana Kingdom and touring the world, but during the events involving the kidnapping of Princess Alexia Midgard, she was called back to the Midgard Kingdom to participate in a mission to search for the princess and the extermination of the Fenrir faction, a group that belonged to the cult. So, after the successful rescue of Princess Alexia, Epsilon along with her two subordinates would join Alpha and her team in the Holy Land of LINDWURM to investigate the sanctuary and the Goddess Festival. And during a mission, Epsilon was able to meet her master again after she dispatched the assassin that he was following. She would inform Sid about their plans in LINDWURM, and her master left after giving her a compliment. She then rejoins Alpha, and when the Goddess Festival started, they waited for Beta, who was currently posing as Natsume Kafka, to signal them because their master had apparently showed up and was currently battling against the construct of the Wish of Calamity Aurora. When the wish was defeated, the gates to the sanctuary opened. Epsilon along with Alpha and her team arrived in the arena. They all entered the sanctuary, but when Epsilon was about to enter with the captured Archbishop Nelson, the executioner Venom had attacked her. And even though she was caught off guard by the attack, her sharpened senses allowed her to evade the attack, but her movements almost caused a tragedy. That's because Venom had sliced off two of her prized assets, and refusing to be exposed, she quickly used magic to reconnect the important assets while killing the assailant. She then dragged Nelson into the sanctuary, and once inside, she and the team began their investigations, but when Nelson activated the defense system, her team was separated from Alpha's group. However, she wasn't worried, so her team continued with their investigations while Alpha's group easily defeated Nelson and took down the defense system. On a side note, I found it funny that despite trying so hard to protect her secret, she was eventually exposed in front of Omega and Kai when her assets fell off, but fearing Epsilon's wrath, they both pretended like they saw nothing and just continued with their work. Back to the topic at hand, Epsilon and the team reunited with Alpha's group, and because they finished their investigations, they all left the sanctuary. And following the destruction of the sanctuary by the master, she informed Alpha about their discoveries and revealed that Aurora was indeed the demon Diablos. After a mission in LINDWURM, she returned to Midgard's Mitsugoshi company where she would encounter a rival Beta. And a bit of context, Epsilon has developed a sense of jealousy and rivalry towards Beta ever since Beta became known as Natsume Kafka and how she was blessed with natural assets. That's why whenever she meets Beta, she would always take the chance to gloat and mock her. She even made Beta run off crying because in Epsilon's war against Naturus, mercy was never an option. But jokes aside, she doesn't really hate Beta and they still get along most of the time. Having said that, Epsilon would meet her master again when he saw her performing in one of the capital's premier hotels, and she even boasted about how she was able to take the wisdom he'd given her to become a world-renowned pianist, which greatly annoyed him. However, when Epsilon said she really enjoyed his favorite piece, Moonlight Sonata, he decided to forgive her, and apparently her master wanted to acquire information on the whereabouts of Rose Oriana, but because she wasn't handling the matter, she only had a rough idea. After providing what available information she has, her master left and Epsilon would depart to the Oriana Kingdom because she was invited to play in their capital. That's why she was absent during the Great Trade Alliance conflict, but when the event was resolved, she would meet Sid again, this time outside the Oriana castle. She would use her status as Chiron to help Sid get entrance as an apprentice, and after an encounter with Perth Asset, her master was forced to perform, but he easily nailed the performance. They both left, and I found it entertaining seeing Epsilon's interaction with Margaret, one of the maids working inside the castle that was constantly getting in between her and the master while also trying to poach him as a pianist. In any case, she later received a report from 559 regarding her failed mission, the key to the Black Rose, and the apparent betrayal of number 666, but when Sid enters the room, they stop their discussion and started pampering their master. Later, Epsilon informs Sid about the Black Rose and the key, not knowing that the master misunderstood her completely or the fact that he had already stolen the key from Perth. Nonetheless, she also misunderstood Sid's plan to crash the wedding of Rose and immediately prepare her forces for the upcoming battle. Also, I wanted to mention that apparently Epsilon has developed the ability to completely hide a slime bodysuit to the point where it now looks indistinguishable from real skin, and according to Sid, her degree of magic control, the molding of the slime, and the secondary texture adjustments to make it look real were all considered to be incredible. That said, on the wedding day, the Black Rose was activated by Mordred, the 9th seed in the Cult of Diablos, and he had released hordes of obsidian monsters to attack the citizens, so Epsilon arrives with Beta and their forces to contain the damage. Epsilon and Beta would battle Mordred while their master handled Ragnarok, but before they could attack, they sensed Mordred's invisible blade and managed to avoid the attack just in time, although Epsilon did get cut slightly. She decided to release her own invisible attack by firing magic towards him, which was considered to be extremely difficult because once magic is sent outside, it would quickly disperse, but it was simple for Epsilon. So Epsilon and Beta easily overpowered Mordred, and it's quite ironic that despite their constant fighting, they actually work really well as a team. Nevertheless, they interrogated him for information while waiting for the master to defeat Ragnarok, and when Ragnarok was defeated, Mordred started consuming the monster, but Shadow simply destroyed him along with the Black Rose, while Epsilon and Beta observed his magnificence. However, Epsilon was stunned when Shadow jumped into the collapsing Black Rose, followed by Beta, but she convinced herself that her master probably has a grander plan in mind, so she decided to just report back to Alpha. Now when Sid and Beta did return, Epsilon was still in the Oriana kingdom having a discussion with Alpha, and after hearing the news, she was quite happy about her master's return. Also, they would question Beta about the otherworld human that she brought with her, and it's unknown what Epsilon did later, so we'll just have to wait for future volumes to see more of her. But anyways, although her selfish and prideful nature can sometimes be a hindrance, she's still a good character nonetheless, and it makes for some funny moments, like how she will always misunderstand that Sid is looking at her assets when in reality, he's just admiring her skills, and I personally quite enjoy seeing her focus on more feminine traits as compared to the other members of Shadow Garden. She seems to always be the one taking care of Sid, like preparing tea, dessert, and cooking for him, or even giving him massages. There's even an instance of her helping a lost child and treating the child like her own. I guess that's why she is also called Momma Epsilon. Also, her skills and talents are definitely more down to earth because she mostly relies on hard work and dedication to achieve it. So is Epsilon the best girl or is she best mama?
何かあったかしら? いえ、何も。
Anyways, that was basically all the information on Momma Epsilon or Epsilon the Faithful, and hopefully I managed to cover everything. Also, what are your thoughts about her character, and did you enjoy the video overall? Feel free to share your thoughts down below, and be sure to give the video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button as well, it really helps. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.